Yeah, we get people and everything calling and grapping and so.
3 years ago.
We'll,
Just to do that. We are afternoon, and we do, I think, now have a full board present that we do have. So we have obviously a quorum present, so we'd call the meeting to order. And if we could open with a prayer and pledge of allegiance. And Mr. Miller, could I ask you to do that, please?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for this wonderful day that you've given us, Lord, this opportunity to be here, Father. We thank you for the many blessings you bestowed upon us, the freedoms that we have, Lord. We just don't take it lightly. And Father, just pray that you just be with us today as we discuss the things, Lord. Just help us to look to you for wisdom, Father, and that you would just guide us and the citizens that entrust us, Lord, with this responsibility. Just thank you so much. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would take the roll, please, so we have an official record of who is present.
I'm sorry.
Take the roll, please, so we'll have a record of who's present.
Sordahl?
Here.
Williams?
Here.
Durr?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Berger?
Here.
Miller?
Here.
First item is the administering the oath of the office to Scott Miller for seat number 5, term ending January 13th, 2024.
Mr. Miller, if you'd stand, please. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Scott Miller,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma
and the Charter of the City of Pryor Creek, Oklahoma,
and the Charter of the City of the Pryor Creek of Oklahoma,
that I will not knowingly receive,
that I will not knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money or other valuable thing
any money or any valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
I further swear or affirm
I further swear or affirm
that I will faithfully discharge my duties
that I will faithfully discharge my duties
as Economic Development Trust Authority Seat 5
as Economic Development Trust Authority Seat 5
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you, sir. Would you sign that?
I don't know, Scott. You kind of goofed that up. We can always do a redo, you know.
I think it was the attorney.
Hope you can find one. Next item of business is the approval of the minutes from the November 8th, 2021 meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the November 8th, 2021 meeting. Do we have any questions or discussion? If you could take the roll, please.
Williams?
Yes.
Durr?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Sordahl?
Yes. Next item is petitions from the audience. Do we have any petitions from the audience? Next item of business is discussion and possible action regarding a recommendation to council from resumes received from EDTA for vacant seat number 6. I appreciate everybody's patience with this. I mean, we were scheduled to do this last time, and I knew Mr. Moore was out of town, and your name is Mr. Berger, isn't it? Yes, and Mr. Berger was unavailable, and I didn't think it fair to do this with just 4, so I'm glad to see everybody here. We've had the resumes submitted by 3 individuals. I think we've all had the opportunity to read those and go through them. What I'd like to do is give everybody an opportunity to at least visit with us, opportunity to introduce yourselves, primarily give us the reason why you're interested in this, but also, too, I'd be interested in hearing what direction you think this trust should be moving in. We'd like to try to keep to a timely schedule. I know the city has a habit of setting things for 5 minutes. I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to time people. But if we could keep it kind of brief and allow for some questions. And I think, Mr. Britton, I think your resume was the first one that we saw. So if you could have that opportunity, please, sir.
Well, good afternoon, Council. I'm Houston Britton. It's a pleasure to be in front of you. I have the opportunity, just a little bit about myself. As you all know, I've served on the City Council, as my resume says, and I actually served on the served on the Planning and Zoning Commission, was part of the comprehensive plan when we put that together for the city. And I've been a part of the community for the last 11 years, so I really, even though I live out in the country now, and I had to step down for the council to do so, Pryor is my city, and this is where I do my shopping, and this is where I do my business, and I serve on several boards here. I serve on the rec board, as you all know. I also serve on the board for the Chamber of Commerce. As far as being a part of this board, I had to actually put my resume in the first time, and so with the opportunity to do so again, I see with a lot of different things going on in the community, not only just the community of Pryor and the momentum that we have, but I also see that going on within the region, within the county and within the region. There's a lot of things that are going to happen over the next few years, and I think I certainly want to be a part of that. As far as what this board does and the direction I think it should be moving, I think it should be open-minded, listening to everything that's going on and listen to the opportunities that are presenting itself, and as a board to do their part and to push the city of Pryor and the agenda forward for improvement. I think the biggest thing we'll see here in the near future is a lot of rooftops. We're going to see a lot of amenities. We're just going to see growth, and I think this board should be a part of that. So that's where I see this board going in the direction I'd like to see it going. And if I could be of help to do so, I'd be more than welcome to do so.
Anybody have
Any questions?
Any questions? You do currently still serve on a city board, is that right? You
Yes,
currently
I
do.
serve on the rec board, and I'm a part of Barbara's board. I'm the chair,
Okay.
Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions?
All right.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you,
guys.
sir. Lori Ballou, I think yours was second.
Good afternoon. My name is Lori Ballou. I am a lifetime member of the city of Pryor. My maiden name is Crittenden, and my family has lived and worked here for almost 60 years. I'm not quite that old, so I was born here. I wish to interject myself into the city of Pryor. In many ways, my family has a deep history of serving as volunteers and as employees for this city. My brother was a police officer here and retired from Pryor. My dad worked as the sheriff's office as a deputy sheriff. My mom worked at the sheriff's office. So in conjunction with that, she served as a city. My husband is a current Pryor firefighter. So that, my son also works for MUB, by the way. So I see those opportunities. I currently work for Cherokee Nation Economic Development Department. So with that in mind, and I saw this opportunity, I thought that it would be good that I, as a representative of the Cherokee Nation, as an employee of the Cherokee Nation businesses, could possibly help this board and use my experience there to assist and see the potential growth that's going forward here in Pryor. My husband and I have done several real estate projects, and real estate is growing heavily, both in size and in dollars. And I'd like to see how the city can support that. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your consideration for me for this board.
Do we have questions? You brought up one to me, which I guess I should have read better. You currently serve on the Cultural Economic Development Committee for the Cherokee Nation.
I am employed by them,
And
yes.
what does that committee do?
So our department that I work for is specifically involved in the culture of Cherokee Nation and the tourism developments in the Cherokee Nation boundaries, the 14-county area. We have right now 11 museums. There's more coming on. And one of my biggest projects I'm working on right now is actually in the city of Veneta. And it is a cultural tourism center for the city of Veneta. Eventually, I'd like to see something like that come to the Pryor area as well.
Okay. Cool.
Anything else?
Any questions?
Thank you for what you do.
Yes,
Thank you, I appreciate it.
thank you.
Mr. Anderson, I believe you were number 3.
Hello, my name is Adam Anderson. I am a lifelong resident of Pryor, except for 2 weeks when I was first born and was in Colorado. I've lived just outside of the city limits my entire life. Pryor's always been dear to my heart. And when the opportunity came up to put my resume in for this committee, I thought that I should do that. I had spent the previous 22 years running the concession stands for Pryor schools and Pryor band. Retired from that, I wanted to see a way to give back to the city of Pryor and to the people of Pryor. As far as my input on this committee, I think I would be unique in having experience with financing options for municipalities, maybe some knowledge in putting together some financing packages or proposals for those looking to move into the downtown corridor. I think that's something I could really offer to the committee, and something that I think the committee could do to try to entice people to coming into the downtown authority or downtown corridor.
What experiences have you been involved with economic enhancement or financing municipalities
So,
projects?
me directly, I've had a part in financing the city of Catoosa's purchase of the Blue Well. We did that about 2 years ago. That was about $2 million. That is a lease purchase with the city of Catoosa. So in that circumstance, the bank actually owns the Blue Well, and we lease it to the city until the end of that term. And then I've had multiple experiences with school districts financing buses or automobiles, remodels to their facilities. With the city of Pryor, we've done some financing for, or lease purchases for vehicles. And then recently, we came up with a financing package through a lease purchase that allowed for some of the radio equipment to be put into the new fire and police station, and then a records management system that they could use at the current police station and transfer to the new one when they moved over.
One thing we also hear a lot about from employers is the need for more, I think the term's always rooftops in the Pryor and surrounding area. Is Bank of Commerce mortgage lending?
Yes, mortgage lending for long-term purchases of the house. We also do financing for construction and for the developments.
Lines of credit to developers as well?
Yes, sir. I've been a banker with Bank of Commerce since 2001. I started as a part-time teller, worked up, and I'm currently the president of the organization, which is about 200 million in assets, 53 employees, and 6 locations, one of which, our newest one, is in Pryor that we're finishing the construction on now if all the parts would come in.
I've been following your brickwork on the new location there.
Where do you office out of?
I office out of Catoosa. That's where our hub is out of. Our oldest branch is actually in Chelsea. Our oldest Mays County branch is in Adair, and that is where I started. I spend a lot of my time in Pryor. Right now, the facility is pretty small. 3 of them would fit in here. So there's not a room for me. The plan is to office more out of Pryor, but my home office will be in Catoosa.
How did you come up with the idea for the blue whale? It's pretty innovative. There had been talk in the city and the surrounding community that the blue whale was going to be up for sale. The city did not have the ability to outlay that much capital at one time. I got with the city manager and their finance department, and we came up with the idea through their, we also used the attorney at Ringgold, RFR, to structure the entire deal, and then did the purchase. But it was a group effort, several meetings getting together to see exactly how we could structure it. The day I got the call from the city manager that they were ready to proceed, I was brush hogging my field, got a call from him, stopped, and he said, well, it looks like we're gonna purchase a blue whale. So Catoosa maintains it?
Catoosa maintains it, yes. They have complete control of it through a lease and a use access agreement with the bank.
By the way, I hosted some friends from England several years ago, and this has probably been 7 years ago now. But one of the things that they wanted to do was go see the blue whale.
And I think there are things like that we can do within the city of Pryor if we have the right financing and the right mindset. And I think this group is a group that can put something together that gives that vision that the city can support and help get it out in front of everybody and then fund it. Anything else? And I forget that this really echoes.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Leads us to thoughts or discussions or recommendations.
There's a way to use all 3 of them?
Yeah.
And,
The answer to that's probably yes.
yeah, and I agree, and that's why I asked, I appreciate Mr. Britton, and that's why I asked. He's currently serving on that, and helping the city and other matters. And Lori, we gotta find a place for her. And Adam, I think we need to find a place for him. And I agree. And quite frankly, all are probably more knowledgeable than I am, and at some point in time, we probably need a new chairman. But personally, as far as an economic development trust, this is just my personal feeling. We had a banker on here before who gave us valuable information at times. That's exactly what Mr. Anderson is. And Mr. Anderson has participated in helping finance municipalities and projects, and also is familiar with bond issues and things like that. I hope you understand, though, if you do something that's going to preclude the Bank of Commerce from some things, is that an issue?
That is not an issue.
That's just my personal belief.
Are you looking for a
I
motion?
am looking for a motion.
I would move that we put Mr. Anderson on the committee.
Well, what we would do is be making the recommendation.
Okay.
We don't have the authority to put anybody on this committee. We would simply. and-
recommend to-
Yeah, the mayor came to us, and I appreciate that. came to us looking for a recommendation. And so what we would do is be making a recommendation. The ultimate decision becomes who the mayor then presents to the council.
Understand.
So is your motion to recommend?
To recommend.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and second to recommend Mr. Adam Anderson and I guess, Mayor, this would be starting a new term, because didn't this one come up just recently?
Just, I think it was due this month.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it'd be a full term.
So he and Scott are the, on that same term, yes.
And are
So
the
it's
terms
Starting,
2 years?
starting a new term this month, yes.
Okay, so the recommendation would be for the 2-year term, and it's seat number 6. So we have motion and second. Do we have any discussion?
What instrument did he play in the Pryor High School band?
Oh, you want, we can ask all 3 of them. We,
Clarinet.
I played trombone.
Oh,
Trio here.
and I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. There you go. That, a story,
Piano, and he can play the flute, we got it covered.
a story just came to my mind, and I probably don't need to go there because I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. So, and I one time had the longtime choir director for the schools of Pryor agree with me as he was standing right next to me, and so I've never sung another word in my life.
I'm glad you had the courage to stand there and sing.
Oh, God, no. When Herschel Aver says you can't, then you know you can't. Anyway, any other discussion? I would call for the roll.
Dirk,
Yes.
Moore,
yes.
Berger,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sordahl,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
I believe you have your recommendation, Mr. Mayor. We
Thank you.
appreciate you all. And you're all welcome to hang around, so.
Yeah, I think we need to find a place for
We
everybody.
need to find
We need-
places.
we need-
When you have people come and volunteer and willing to do something, you need to find a place for them. Takes us to discussion and possible action regarding recommendations made by downtown merchants in regard to parking regulations for the downtown corridor. I simply wanted this on the agenda so we can have that discussion. If Mr. Moore would recall, we had that request at one time,
I do recall.
and your mine is better than mine then. But you had asked, and there was nothing we could do that day. There was a question about possibly putting up hourly or making a recommendation for 2-hour parking in certain areas. We've had a couple meetings, it's never made it to the agenda, there. I just wanted it there so we could properly talk about it and see whether or not this trust wanted to make that recommendation. Again, we wouldn't have the ability to put the regulations into effect, but we could make the recommendation to the city council. So I put it there simply because we had merchants here who came and asked about it, and I don't know if we have, I know we have, God, my mind is just gone. Main Street and the Chamber are present, and I know it's not on the agenda, but I would certainly welcome any input from there and anybody's thoughts on that.
If I could interject
the mayor's,
before that.
Okay.
If you recall back on August the 9th, and this is in your packet, we had a forum, and part of the discussion from the forum was about parking. So in preparation for the discussion today, I did include in the packet, and this is what some of these pages are if you've looked at it, some of the codes that we have regarding parking. We have a complete streets ordinance in our city that I found out after I'd been mayor for almost a year and a half that existed, but it was adopted in 2016. And so we do have that ordinance. We also have guidance from our comprehensive plan, and the guidance from the comprehensive plan is basically what we, mostly what we are using and what our consultant PDG is using when they're trying to do the wayfinding and placemaking things in our downtown corridor. So those are those items that are in your packet. So I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, and that's fine, and help me if there's something, because remember my request coming from the merchants was, they had issues with people coming on Main Street, and and particularly employees from other, and they admitted they were doing it some themselves, that were parking in front of the businesses, and they sit there and park all day, as opposed to a 2-hour limit. So I don't know, is there anything in these that talks about being able to do that? Because I don't think there's anything downtown right now. And I think there may be something in front of my business that has a 2-hour.
So I think Jenny has done some research on
Yeah.
that, and it would be good for us to hear from her, I believe.
Yeah, so there's a few things, since we last met about parking. We do have the official numbers of parking, just to kind of keep in the back of your mind. But aside from numbers, I was doing some brainstorming / reached out to some merchants and building owners downtown. And one of their concerns, I went to them with, how do you feel about timed parking? How do you feel about paid parking? And the consensus kind of was, we don't want to do anything that deters anybody from coming to downtown at this point. Obviously, we have the streetscape plan coming that could change things with new businesses coming in. And then I was thinking, which this is a total brainstorming thing that I did not do any more thinking on other than just kind of while I was driving in my car as a solution for this. So I reached out to other main streets, and one thing that they did find, which I'm sure is very similar for our main street in our downtown, is the majority of their parking downtown is from employees, from management, things like that. Claremore specifically, they did a parking study, and 70% of their cars that are there all day are from employees and owners and things like that. So we know this, we don't have a solution. So what I was wondering, if this could be kind of like a brainstorming thing, if we decide that time parking isn't the way that we want to go. So we have different buildings downtown, and we have public offered parking lots downtown that aren't necessarily on the roadsides. So what if we did something where, if Main Street could be backed by the EDTA or backed by the city of Pryor, that way just kind of when we would approach these, employees or approach these building owners, business owners, that it was kind of seemed more, I don't know if credible would be the word, but just kind of more in consensus. And so we could basically take each section of downtown buildings and colorize them on a map, match them with a public parking lot, and say, we suggest, based off of backing of the city of Pryor, that you encourage your employees to park in this lot, which is 30 steps away from your front door, or however much, and do that all over downtown. We approach all of them, something more than that's, just Main Street. But there's plenty of, lots that we can do that. That way it kind of frees up the roadside. That's something that we could do at Main Street as far as creating that map. And just kind of obviously get the extra permissions to be able to park in the lots that aren't necessarily public, but there's plenty of public that it would work just alone. So I don't know. That was something that I was kind of thinking of as maybe a step one.
No parking mandates, that's what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we can't be like, you're not allowed, but maybe if the city and Main Street and
I'm open to any suggestion, and everyone will be a good one, and Scott's gonna be able to put more input on that. I mean, I'm sitting down kind of towards the edge of it, and I think in my building, I do have, I think there used to be, I have to go look, the sign 2 hour, which doesn't bother me, because that keeps people going in and out for closings, but he'd have more input on that. And I just wanted to do something because we'd had a couple requests, and I didn't want people thinking we had ignored them.
Yeah.
And we weren't going to be addressing the issue.
Right.
And I like this. I mean, it addresses the issue, and
it's something that we would be willing as Main Street to go door to door, face to face, and say, this is why we're doing it. Collectively, this is what we think might be a solution. Let's test it out for 3 months, or something like that. So I don't know. That's just kind of.
Additionally, one of the things that city is doing, trying to do a better job maintaining the alleyways behind the buildings. So the property that's behind the buildings up to the alleyways is private property owned by the building owners. So the building owners have responsibility to maintain those, to maintain their spaces, but the city has responsibility to maintain the alleyways. So that's also some improvements that the city is doing.
Yeah. And one request to kind of keep in the back of your mind too, as we were counting the spots, there's a lot that is not clearly marked at all, a lot of overlapping. So if that's something we could suggest to council from you guys as a recommendation to get those repainted, that I think would work wonders. Because one thing that we found just driving through is cars were overlapped, you couldn't really use either, and so, I think that's a low-hanging fruit item that could be
So
done
were
quickly.
those on public, public?
Roadside, yeah, when we say roadside, we mean, on Graham, on
Okay,
Ada,
okay.
things like that, yeah. And so, those are just a couple things from us, and so, if you have any, I don't know that you would have questions for me
Well,
for this, I'm coming to you, but.
I just want to make a quick comment. I personally love the idea of educating them about the steps, because I did talk to a few people in that area on South Ada in particular that park while they work, and a big concern was, well, when it's really cold or when it's rainy, I don't want to walk. But I think if you can say literally, it's only 30 steps, that could help, and then us do our part to also park where we're supposed to be parking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the education piece. I think that could just truly help a lot, and make sure that it gets to all the employees, not just, because I'm not sure, I don't know everybody's business, so I don't know how communication goes from top to bottom, but sometimes I know not everyone gets the message. So yeah, if we could make that happen, I think the education piece is critical in that. But I will also mention, because I did start parking across the street again, there's no pedestrian head, and the crosswalk still isn't updated. So I don't know if we can quickly, what the timeline is on that, or where we could get some dollars to fund that. But I think if we could also make that a high priority to get those crosswalks done, and then maybe those pedestrian heads, I know those are a pricey item, but I think that could be critical in seeing the success of this, of trying to make this happen. So if we can get the city to recommend that too, the pedestrian head.
Well, and I think it becomes a point of, what do we want to make a recommendation?
Yeah.
And obviously, any recommendation's gonna have to go to the council for any and for, or even if we recommend, I guess you would still be willing to go talk to them. But it'd be nice if the council also said, yeah, we back you too.
Yeah.
But I understand it'd be nice you had something from us that say, we're backing you too.
Some kind of co-branding of, Main Street and City of Pryor, that way it seems more,
Yeah.
not forceful, but forceful, like if.
And it's
that's it.
probably the best approach to go with the carrot first instead of the stick.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, that's kind of just something just to toss around. But I definitely do think we should see a recommendation for remarking the parking, just as an easy, quick solution there.
And I guess also request from backing for you to, when you visit with them, say, hey, I'm coming here from the PDTA about, can we make sure as employees and owners, we try, here's places you can park.
Yeah, yeah. So those two things, I think, are coming from us, so but just let me know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I make a motion to
can.
recommend that we restripe the parking lots and have Main Street do an educational campaign?
Okay, and I think again, what we would be doing is a recommendation to the council to look into, get the restriped, and also, but we would, and it's not a recommendation, but we would then put our support behind Main, so almost two motions, put our support then behind Main Street to go educate the merchants about use of the parking area in front of their.
That will piggyback on some of the things that we already have budgeted in this year's budget, which is to do remarking on some of the spaces and also on the crosswalks.
I think we might be looking at two motions.
Okay. Do I need to repeat those motions, or can I say?
We need to do them one at a time, so.
Okay, I will make a motion that the EDTA is in support of Main Street's, all their efforts in the parking.
And educating the merchants and their employees, and perhaps give us a report back, couple months, 3 months? Okay,
I can, so if we get this, when's the next council meeting? Which I guess.
On the 18th?
For the backing, for the letter, so we can do that next week. And then what is this, January, maybe the March meeting, come back and just see, how.
would you be looking some kind of a letter from us, or just, or?
So in my mind, just as I was quickly
You can
thinking this, I could write a letter, but just basically put our logos, like the City of
Okay,
Pryor,
but-
PTA.
And, okay,
Yeah, and then, just say that this is a collaborative effort from da-da-da, and then
Okay.
just do that, so. Which I can email you guys it first if you would rather, but it's just something short and simple, and it'll be mostly me telling them verbally that this is something we came up with together.
now that I've totally trounced all over that motion, do you have,
The first motion is to be in support of Main Street and educating the merchants.
merchants and their employees, for in parking, yes, okay? Is that fairly state?
Brilliant.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second on that particular motion. Do we have any further discussion? Do we have roll call on that, please, ma'am?
Moore,
Yes.
Berger,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sordahl,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Dirk.
Yes.
Now, do we want to address the issue about at least making a recommendation to the council about restriping and,
Yes, can I make a motion to recommend to the council to restripe the public parking lots and the crosswalks?
Second.
And maybe some parking spaces.
yeah, parking
That-
spaces?
Oh, yeah,
that
that's what I
looks-
mean by public parking.
But,
lots.
yeah, along the, just along the streets.
Oh, I see,
mean-
okay.
I sent it to him. I also have, I don't know if you wanna look at it, but whenever we counted the parking.
I think we have it.
Oh, do you guys want
Mhm,
that?
yeah.
Never mind, what am I doing? You guys have it, that's where we counted, and that's where we saw the most need for, as far as roadside, where the lines need to be remarked, so. Never mind, you're ahead of me there.
I'll restate my motion. Can I make a motion to recommend to the council to stripe the public parking lots, restripe the ones that are needed on the roadside, and to update the crosswalks? Thank you.
We have a motion,
I'll continue my second.
we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? We can have the roll, please.
Berger,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sordahl,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, her motion also is very consistent with the Complete Streets Ordinance, which she's very familiar with.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
That brings us to any economic development updates.
There are a lot of economic development updates that I could speak of. Not sure how long you want to stay.
I guess I could give you the 5-minute rule, too.
Mid-America Industrial Park is being a great leader in our, all around the county, but in particular with the city of Pryor and the surrounding towns. And Mid-America Industrial Park is taking a lead in planning, and also they've told us, and also doing some funding things for the preparation for lots of people coming into work at the park. So it's one thing to say that Canoe is going to bring 2,000 employees. It's another thing to make the efforts to assist the communities that surround the park in planning and developing rooftops. Also developing other quality of life items that we might think about. Lots and lots of quality of life things. Some things that we've already started, like the Trails Alliance, that is still active.
We're
It's
trying
still-
to be.
It's still active, and we have a plan. You know, we have a plan. So it takes money. It takes money. So when we talk about our parks in our city, when we talk about our park pool, which is one of the things that will be on City Council's meeting this coming a week from Tuesday night, Mid-America Industrial Park has taken interest and shown interest in many of the quality of life things that we want to produce in our towns, not just in Pryor, but in the surrounding towns in Mays County. And so I appreciate Mid-America Industrial Park taking a lead with some of those things and seeing the need. So they're not going to pay for it, they're not going to pay for it, but they're going to stimulate that discussion with us and place us in a position to be able to move forward with those things over time. So that's pretty exciting. It is to me anyway. You've heard of the annexation that has been done on the north end of town. And you've also perhaps heard of other plots of land that are being talked about to develop as far for industrial uses and also for residential uses. So all of those discussions are very, very active and very at the front of my mind, and also with our economic development consultant, with our council. And so lots of details can't be shared yet, but there will be details that will come later. So I say that as an update. Might be prepared to hear some things coming up soon. I'm not sure what else I need to say about the economic development updates, but I'd be happy to field any questions that anyone might have.
Do we have any questions?
I just do have a quick comment for the audience. Since we are trying to revive the Trails Alliance, the first meeting of the year is going to be January 24th at 11 a.m. If you'd like to come, you are invited. Please get with me. I'll tell you the location. We are really trying to get a team going to really see the fruit of all the past labor to get this trail system going. So thank you for that.
Ariana, would you like to speak about the grant that we're beginning to work on?
Yes, thank you. Yes, so just last week we found out that TSET is rolling out a grant. It's a built environment grant. We're super excited about it. The maximum is $350,000. The one thing about it is, though, is that it's a one-to-one grant. The good news is that in-kind labor can be used towards that match, so that's exciting. The deadline is mid-March, and so right now we're trying to figure out just like the nuts and bolts of logistics but the plan is to go after the money for phase 1 of the streetscape. So, but like I said, this is very brand new and fresh. It just came out last week, so, but that is coming down the pike, so.
I think Jenny is also working
Yes,
on
Jenny, yep.
the other grant that we were speaking about. Do you have any updates on that?
So the last that we checked, this was just before Christmas, they haven't federally approved that money yet, but they're thinking that it'll come at any time. I know we're working together to do that for the phase 1 for the TSET grant that Ariana brought to our attention, and then we also have the TAP grant, so we have more than we ever thought possible so far to be able to enact this streetscape plan, and so this should be the year where it's going.
Right at the end of the year, I got a call from GRDA and said, Mayor, I've got some money that would like to grant to the city. I'm going to send a form, and if you can complete that form, like here in the next 5 minutes. So, we got the paperwork done, so they contributed $15,000 toward our streetscape project. I also recommended that we recognize Municipal Utility Board along with GRDA publicly in some way. So on the streetscape, in the way of a plaque, in the way of recognition, Municipal Utility Board and GRDA. So I thought that was pretty cool. That happened right at the end of the year.
Anything else? Any good word from the chamber, Barbara? Anything from the chamber?
We have a number of projects we're working on right now, but I'm not prepared to
Okay,
chat about it.
okay. Well, when you're ready, let us know.
There will be some things, and it's like everyone else, there are a number of us working together on a number. And one of the big projects is Quarry, the Center for Rural Innovation that we've been working in the marathon. And
Center for what?
Rural innovation.
Rural innovation.
some of it's just a wait and see thing.
Okay, okay. Any other updates, anything else, any other questions? I take it we have no unforeseeable business.
No.
And so that takes us to a motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion?
I so move.
We have a second.
A second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Stay here.